Hello and welcome to the Oath Keeper program, a collection of rants, raves, personal observations, and insights on current events, social issues, and things that just don't pass the common sense test. I am the Oath Keeper, and here's today's topic. Have you ever been right about something and it takes years for everyone else to catch up with the truth? It happens to me a lot more than I really like it. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it just drives me insane. See, back in 2007, there was a lot of conversation about this guy named Barack Obama that was going to run for president. Well, I was a bit concerned since the two books he had written make it pretty clear that he was ineligible to be president. I mean, the only American citizen parent that he had became a British subject when she married his dad. See, Kenya was part of the British Empire at the time, and British law says that any time a Brit marries a foreigner, the foreigner becomes a Brit. There's also the fact that after the marriage, his mom married an Indonesian guy named Lolo Sotoro who adopted this person named Barack Obama, and they lived in Indonesia where he was listed in his school records as being a Muslim. The Entertainment Tonight reported on it and rounded up a few former schoolmates who had absolutely no idea who Barack Obama was, but they did know who Barry Soetoro was. There were news articles online stating that a Kenyan-born senator had his eye on the presidency. In fact, practically everything on the internet prior to 2008 said that this Obama was born in Kenya. This, of course, would make it impossible for him to have been born somewhere in Hawaii or even eligible to be president. Despite all this, somehow the mainstream media completely and utterly failed to report this inconsistency or to even vet this person. Despite all of this, now Nancy Pelosi signed documentation verifying that he was who he said he was and was eligible for the job. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I was following an online board at the time, which was about 99% liberal posters, and I posed a few questions about why they were so adamant about this guy the Democrats were fielding for president. At the time, I said 3 facts about him and drew sharp criticism and even threats of physical harm for insinuating that his real name was Barry Soetoro, that the person who was going around as Barack Obama said his middle name was Hussein, and that he was a Muslim. All things that I had garnered from reading his books and looking on the internet. You would have thought that I said something about their mothers and drunken sailors. I mean, how? How could you insinuate that his middle name was Hussein? Wait, you're going to vote for someone you don't even know what their middle name is? Now, my favorite question, that one of his being a Muslim, was, so what? So what? Why, he's a Muslim, so what? So what? Hey, the fact that we were actively involved in a war that Islam declared on us wasn't something that set off any warning bells in anyone's heads? Didn't throw up any red flags? Didn't make them question? Maybe it was my time in the military that I got ingrained in paying attention to what was going on around me, and things like this just catch my attention. As the election got closer, not a single negative thing was ever reported about him by the mainstream media. No ex-girlfriends came forward to expose some character flaw. No former classmates from any school he claimed to have attended ever came forward. No college professors ever said they recalled him. It was as if he had never existed. A man with no past. The media was inexplicably completely silent on all of this. It was almost as if the media was helping to commit a fraud on the American people. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? I mean, people demanded Sarah Palin take a DNA test to prove she was Trigg's mom. If these people are that meticulous in vetting a candidate, certainly these questions would arise about this community organizer from Chicago, wouldn't they? Phil Berg, who's a Democrat, is a lawyer that started the investigation into determining who Obama really was and where he came from. Because of his efforts, anyone who asked for verification of this person named Obama were referred to as birthers. I guess that was supposed to be some sort of belittlement or attempt at singling someone out and trying to make them feel bad for asking questions like, where were you born? Another lawyer, Orly Tates, has asked the same question, and she spent years in court trying to just get a definitive answer on who this guy is. I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. A birth certificate costs $20. It's a lot cheaper than spending millions of dollars keeping it tied up in court, isn't it? It is, unless, of course, you have something to hide. Okay, so he gets elected, and the first thing he does is seal all his school records, medical records, college transcripts, and anything else that can be used to clear up this silly issue of who he is. A certification of live birth was released, but all that's required to get a certificate of live birth is merely to give the hospital the information. They print it out on a form and send it back to you. 3 years later, a birth certificate is finally released and almost immediately recognized as a fake, as are the next two that get released. See, the fake ones are really easy to spot because they don't reflect the adoption by Lolo Soetoro, which would be on any valid birth certificate of anybody that's been adopted. There also isn't any paper trail of him reclaiming his citizenship, British or American, whatever, after he turned 18. So this guy has gone out of his way to hide who he is, to lie to us, to keep the cases tied up in court and not explain why he has a dead Connecticut man's Social Security number. And he's done this for over 5 years. One thing is clear, he's lying to us and going out of his way to cover his tracks. And this is what I find most amazing about it. He doesn't know what happened in our own embassy in Libya last year. But he knows beyond the shadow of a doubt what's going on in Syria. And he wants us to believe him when he says we need to go to war with Syria in support of Al-Qaeda. You've been listening to the Oath Keeper program on the Bear 94.5 WMRD in Maynardville, Tennessee. The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, or owners of WMRD or its advertisers. You can also read my column in the Polygraph newspaper, available most places around the tri-state area. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.